Hello everyone. In this lesson we're going to go ahead and take a look at strings. Before going any further, I do want to rename this first one as 002 so it matches the video numbers that are on YouTube. I will make all this code available to you on GitHub, and I will place a link. I will place links in the description so you can always get to them. So I'm going to save this, close this, select it, shut it down, and create a brand new Python 3 notebook. And let's go ahead and call this one 003 strings. So we've already worked with strings. I can say print coffee time. And notice I'm using double quotes here because Python doesn't care. And I can say print tea time with single quotes. Very importantly, I do want to point out that Python cares about indentation. See, if I were to indent this, I will get an error message. However, if I were to come over here and indent both, then it's perfectly okay with it. This is because Python uses indentation for keeping track of a block of code. So most languages have like open curly brace, close curly brace, or a begin-end structure. Python doesn't. Python just uses indentation for keeping track of a piece of code. So remember that indentation is important. You can't just break a line wherever you like you do in most languages. Now, it may seem unnatural at first, but believe me, you're going to love it. Let's take a look at creating a variable, which is very easy. You just put a variable name, equal sign, which is used as an assignment operator. It doesn't mean it's equal to something. So I'm going to set it be equal to coffee time. And then I can print the message. I do want to point out that you can type the message itself, and it will actually spit it out for you. But notice it puts in the quotes for you, whereas when you do a print, it prints what's inside the double quotes. If we insist on using single quotes and you have an apostrophe in the message, then you can and you must actually put escape characters. I can say it's coffee time doesn't work, as you can see. What I can do is I can come over here and say, you know what, this is escape this. This is an apostrophe. It's going to treat it like an apostrophe. And then I could do a print message, for instance. While we're here, also, please understand that Python is a case-sensitive language. So if I do print message, which is an uppercase, I get an error message saying that message is not defined. Strings are basically arrays of characters in Python. That's how they're defined. We can type in the type function and see what kind of a creature is message. And it tells you it's a string, it's a class string. We'll have whole lessons on classes and objects. But it is an array of characters. If I type in message subscript 3, and this is how you do subscript with a square brackets, it tells you that's position S. Is it? Let's see that. Here's the message. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, should be 4. Well, that's because Python, like most C-based languages, starts counting at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and you can see that it's there. If I do message, for instance, 4, 5, that should be a C. And you can see it is. We can also do what's called slices. That is a string of these characters. I can say message, for instance, 5 to 10. And let's check that out. Gives me coffee, but is it? Again, let's actually count it. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the C, that's correct. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But Python doesn't include the last index when it returns a value. A good way to remember that is if you take the difference between these, so 10 minus 5, that's 5, it's going to return 5 characters. So remember, the first index gets returned, whatever value is there, the last one doesn't. We'll have more about this later when we talk about collections such as lists and tuples and dictionaries. Let's go ahead and do message 511, and that's going to bring us back our coffee that we wanted to. We can also use negative indices. So looking at it's coffee time, it starts at 0 here. If you want to count the other way, this is position -1. So I can say message -1, and it brings me that E. However, if you do message -1 -4, saying, well, that's -1, -2, -3, -4. Oh, maybe I should put -5 because it doesn't count that. This doesn't work because the indices must be from lower to higher. So what I can say is message minus, looking at this, -1, -2, -3, -4. We know that that is included, and then -1. But again, this only returns TIM. It doesn't return the E because, again, the last one is not included. Now, you may be tempted to do something like this. So I'm going to put 0 here. Woohoo. And didn't work because, again, you're going, you're asking for something that doesn't make sense to Python. If you want to get the whole thing, you can just say -4 colon. And that means go all the way to the end. And notice that time gets returned at this point. Okay, moving right along with more strings. Let's do a little trick here. By the way, you can put comments in Python by using the hashtag. So a little trick. These get ignored by the Python interpreter. I'm going to print dir, another function of message. So print directory of message. And what it gives you a whole bunch of built-in functions. We'll have a lot to say about these double underscore functions later in the course. But you can see there are a bunch of other stuff that are built into for a string, for any particular string that we deal with. Let's take a look over here. For instance, can I find something that is fairly easy right now to demonstrate to you without throwing you off too much? Let's actually try message dot title, for instance. I see there's a title here. I just saw it. Where did it go? There's title. So that title, and it is a function, so we have to do that. And notice that because I don't think I just want to make sure that I didn't make a mistake. I didn't. Good. So as you can see, I got this I capitalized, the S capitalized, the C capitalized, and the T capitalized. So it created this titled, message. I can say message dot upper, and you can see that it made everything be uppercase. So these are built-in functions. And we'll have, again, more to say about how you use those double underscore stuff. Let's do another one. We're going to call the help function on message, which is a string. And it says there's no documentations available for this string. We will be using the help functions later when we need help with various functions. If I do, just so it's clear, let me do print help. You can see that there's a function here called str with a double underscore, and I'm going to just dump in str in here. And now it actually tells you, well, for a class string, you have a bunch of stuff. There are a bunch of methods that are available, which, as you can see, they're actually up here too, like add, class, contains. So it gives you actually a hierarchy this time, but it tells you how the function works too. So use the self keyword. I'll explain that when we get to objects and classes. It basically gives you a nice outline of how these functions actually work. This is less than, less than or equal to, mod, multiply, not equal to. All of a lot of this stuff we'll actually see when we work with. So I just want you to know that you can get help this way if you wanted to. If you want something, as an example, more specific. So let's say that I go down here and I'm looking at all this. Let me go to the L section. There's the lower function. So I can say print help string. I know that returned this thing, but I want just lower. So I put dot lower to get information about lower. So this is, more specific help. And it tells you, well, this is how lower works. You give it the standard self keyword, which references the object itself, and it returns a copy of the string converted to lowercase, basically, which we know is true because if I do message.lower, that's exactly what happens. Okay, but like I said, we'll have more to say. I just want you to get see this ahead of time because it will make more sense as you see it over and over again. Let's continue by creating a message 1, and I'm going to set that equal to coffee time, and a message 2 set it equal to tea time. I'm going to print them. Now I could print message 1 and then put message 2 very simply like this. And notice it just puts them together and by default adds a space between them. If I had to do a print and use a message 1 and use a concatenation operator, which is plus, notice this space doesn't get added. Okay? We can also do something like this, which is very cool. It's using formatting, using placeholders. So I can use curly brace, and then call the format method. And notice the way you do it is you take this string, you say dot format, and then you say message 1 and message 2. And what this is going to do is going to put message 1 in the first curly braces and message 2 in the second one. This is so important that I'm going to do this several times. If I were to do this message 2 over here and message 1 over here, it's going to put message 2 in the first one and message 1 in the second one, as you can see. Furthermore, you're not restricted to just the order. The order by default is 0, 1 if you had more than one, and I can do and this, and I need 2 more over here, so I can say message 2 and message 1 plus message 2, which the whole thing would be considered one thing at this point. And you can see it just dumps it in there. But what I can do is I can also say, you know what? Reverse this. This is 0, this is 1. Put 1, which is this one, in the first one, and put 0 in the second one. So you can manually specify that too. So a lot of flexibility with this approach right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the message again. From originally it's coffee time. I'm going to print message.count t. So count the number of t's in the message, and correctly it returned there are 2 t's in there. Okay, let's actually call message.find. I want to search for the word coffee in there. And it returned the position, again counting at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It says it's in position 5, so it gave it to us. What if something is not there? So if I say message.find latte, and it returns a -1, meaning that there was nothing there with latte. We can use the replace method or replace function, depending on who you talk to. I'm going to say I want to replace in the message. So I'm going to say replace the message, and you call the function on it. That's why they're called methods, because it applies to that particular string or object. I'm going to replace the letter E with the letter Z. So it says it's coffee teams. Now remember that this is just doing this for our print session. If I look at the message, it hasn't been modified. What if I want to modify the message? For instance, I want to replace the word coffee with tea. I can say, use an assignment operator, I can say message is equal to message.replace the word coffee with the word tea. Oops, and I made a mistake here somewhere. Where did I make that mistake? I misspelled replace. There we are. Nothing shows up, but if I look at my message now, notice that it says it's tea time. It replaced the word coffee with tea. Something that was introduced, I think, in Python 3.4, so it's fairly recent, are these F strings. Let's take a look at them. They're very powerful and people use them a lot nowadays. I can say message is equal to, let me actually let message, no, let's just do this for a day. So I'm going to say F single quote, curly braces, and coffee, comma, T. So that's my new message, basically. Take a look at that. And I do need to actually do this properly. Let me make these double quotes because I'm using quotes for strings, and also the F string requires quotes itself. So do it this way. There we are. So if I take a look at message now, whoops, you can see that it actually created that message for us, coffee and tea, which is very cool, very powerful. You may be wondering, where does this come in handy? We'll have a lot to say with F-string as we work with them. Let's actually use some variables also. So I can create variables and assign them this way. Python is so cool because you can do things that are natural to children, not necessarily when you get older. But children have no problem working with having two variables assigned to two things like this. And Python is okay with that. So this is going to assign coffee to D1 and tea to D2 in this case. And then what I can do is I can create my message using an F string that basically builds that string for us. And I'll just put in D1 and D2. And then close this string. And let's print the message. And it prints the message for us, which is very cool. We can also, let me make a note over here, we can code directly in place inside the placeholder. So message is equal to F, let me put both of them in so I don't forget. And I can go in here and create coffee and call the upper function, and then create T, which is my string, and call the upper function on that, and then print a message. And there you go. Very cool. Well, I know that this was quite long, at 18 minutes, but I wanted to get it all out of the way. So these lessons might be a little longer than your 3-4 minute videos or 5-minute videos that you're used to. But you can always pause and take a break. I try not to make them too long, but I think it's also important to get the whole topic in. You can always pause it wherever you like. Thank you again for being a great audience. And again, if you're enjoying these, please share with family, with friends, loved ones, and share your own knowledge too on the web. Also, I will post this code, this notebook to GitHub, and I will place the link in the description so you can have access to it. Thank you again. See you until next video.